So here we go. This is a talk on discipline. Once and for all, you can solve that discipline problem, better classroom management, and we're going to talk about how to get the students do what you want them to do without you ever having to resort to shouting, screaming, and yelling. Okay? And sadly, many schools of education do not do not spend enough time training teachers in classroom management. Some administrators think that just by forcing somebody to handle a class through how do you call that, a laboratory like that, no, practice teaching, some administrators think that with that, that's enough, they will learn how to manage a class. They don't. In fact, many studies show that one of the top reasons why teachers leave the profession is because of failure in classroom management, failure in discipline. When students start becoming uncontrollable, unmanageable, and then teachers complain that the students do not listen, do not pay attention, are bad behavior or bad discipline, lack of discipline. Well, that's according to research. It's one of the top reasons why some teachers leave the profession when they cannot anymore manage the students, they cannot anymore control the class. I'm sure you've heard of that expression, nilamon ng estudyante ng buong buo. Yan. In other words, the teacher has reached a point where the only way he or she can make the students do what they want them to do is by resorting to shouting, screaming, yelling, getting angry, getting upset. And one of the reasons why teachers go home very tired at the end of the day is because they have to repeat 20 times. Sit up straight, stop talking, listen here, keep quiet, eyes on the board, John, Joey, keep quiet, stop. And they have to repeat that 20, 50, 100 times. You put together all those shouts, screams, and yells that teachers make, and you realize why at the end of the day you feel very exasperated, very tired, very exhausted. And some teachers, if Pag-asa announces no classes because of typhoon signal number 2, number 3, it's the teachers who are happiest, most excited, more excited than the students because we need a break. We are so tired and exhausted. Today we're going to talk about how can you manage a class where you don't even need to say, John, sit up straight. Joey, eyes on the board. Listen. You don't even have to say those things. There are strategies I'm going to share with you on how you can get the students do what you want them to do without ever having to resort to all those things. Our source is the best-selling book of Dr. Harry K. Wong. May he rest in peace. He passed away early this year. I brought him to the Philippines in 2012, and he and the wife, Harry and Rosemary Wong, they spoke to 7,000 teachers from all over the Philippines. And his presentation was based on the book, the best-selling book of the husband and wife, entitled The First Days of School. If there is only one book you're going to buy on classroom management, it is this, the book of Harry and Rosemary Wong. And that's what I'm going to share with you. Many of the things I'm going to share with you today are from Dr. Wong. Harry Wong says every teacher goes through 4 stages of teaching. Every teacher. he said. The first stage is first year as a teacher, straight out of college. And then you remember, before the first day of the school year, you had your um, what you're going to wear in a hanger and well ironed. And you prepared your script, you prepared your even the jokes you're going to crack. And you think that the students will like me, will love me. I will be the most popular teacher in campus. Yung bang when I tell the class at the end of each period, okay, class, time's up. I have to dismiss you. You think students will say, no, ma'am, we want more. We want more. That's the first stage called fantasy. And some of us decided to become teachers precisely because we thought I'm going to change lives. I'm going to make an impact in the lives of students. I'm going to change the world because I'm going to produce young people who will grow up to be men and women of character, who will be the best, most successful professionals in the future. That's what we thought. Fantasy, according to Harry Wong. Everybody passes through that stage where we think we are going to be the most popular teacher in campus and everyone wants to be in our class until we end that stage of fantasy the day you enter the classroom. And the class is very disorderly, disorganized, noisy. And some students see you coming inside the classroom and they ignore you. They continue laughing boisterously, making noise in one side, and the rows are disarranged. And then you have to resort to shouting because if you tell them, class, go back to your seats, the students cannot hear you. The noise level is so high, you have to compete with the noise. You have to shout. You have to bang your hand on the blackboard. You have to turn on and off the lights just to get the attention of the students. And that's when you start second stage of teaching called survival. Yeah. According to Harry Wong, many teachers pass through the stage of survival, just trying to get through the day. Lesson planning, objective to survive the day, to finish the day without ever having to shout or scream or yell, to finish the day without ever having to get angry at Joey, John, Joanna, and Geraldine, who are always a big challenge for you. Survival. And according to Harry Wong, sadly, there are some teachers who are just going through the motion of teaching but are merely trying to survive. After the class, they go to the faculty room and they are counting 110 more days before Christmas break. Or even worse, some teachers stay in the stage of survival for so long. After the class, they go back to the faculty room and they are counting 15 more years before retirement. It's sad because this teacher decided to become a teacher precisely because he or she wants to make a difference in the lives of the students, but merely surviving. So, teachers continue teaching, good ones. In spite of this difficulty, challenges, students like Jan and Joey that he has to call the attention of so many times repeatedly. But a good teacher will continue trying to learn better ways of managing the class, attending seminars like this, watching videos in YouTube on how to discipline a class, how to get the class to come to attention in 5 seconds or less. I'm going to share strategies like that later on. How to get the students to stop talking without you even having to say anything. Yes, There are strategies like that. They continue learning, they continue teaching until they discover better ways of doing things. They realize, wait, if I cover this chapter first, the students pay more attention and they understand the lesson better. If I do this thing, they pay attention. They stop talking. That's what you call mastery. Third stage of teaching, when you start being able to master classroom management, teaching, recitation, how to get the students to be participative, how to get them to keep quiet at the count of three, two, and one. Mastery. But today and yesterday and the other day, all the topics we've been covering are all about being able to reach the fourth stage of teaching. Don't just cover the curriculum. Don't just shout, scream, and yell. Make an impact. This is stage four of teaching, according to Harry Wong. So then, we want to skip fantasy. We want to skip survival. Don't just survive. Let's go straight to mastery. Let's go straight to impact. This is what this session is all about. How to be a super successful teacher, which is the title Harry Wong gave when he came over to Manila to give that session to the 7,000 teachers. How to be a super successful teacher. According to research published by Educational Leadership, the number one magazine for teachers, if your school has budget and you are not subscribed yet to this magazine, convince your principal, convince your HR officer. Let us subscribe to Educational Leadership. It's the best magazine available for teachers where they put together the latest studies on teaching and learning and education. They made a landmark study that spanned 50 years. 50 years interviewing teachers and students, asking them what are the top traits of the most effective teachers you've ever had. The top traits. And then they collated the results. And here are the top three traits that came out according to this 50-year study. The number one trait of effective teachers. An effective teacher is a good classroom manager. Our subject matter for today. This is why you can say the talk today is how to be successful, how to be an effective teacher. We have to have classroom management that is effective. Number two trait that came out in that study, an effective teacher designs lessons to reach mastery, for the students to reach mastery. Remember what I said the other day or yesterday? I am not a fan of teachers who brag about more than half the class failing. I'm not a fan of teachers whose students are not able to understand the lesson, or more than half perform very poorly, because according to this research, you, ma'am, sir, whose more than half of the students in your class are failing, you're not an effective teacher, according to this study. Number three, an effective teacher has positive expectation that students will be successful. You see, that's very important. One of the worst things a teacher can say inside the classroom, especially on day one, is to look around and to say, class, many of you here will fail my subject. You're going to be prophetic according to research, because students really will not exert enough effort or will think that there's just no way that they can do well in your subject. An effective teacher has positive expectation that students will be successful. That's why the title of the book of Harry Wong is First Days of School, because it is very important to make sure that in the first days of school, you make it very clear to the students, class, we're going to work very hard because you can be successful. Positive expectation. Class, this is going to be a an exciting year for you. We're going to work together, we're going to learn together. It may be difficult sometimes because you will have to exert the effort, but you will be successful. There, that kind of positive expectation. And then they will work and work together to be able to um, succeed. Okay. The number one factor governing learning is classroom management. Okay? Not discipline, not self-esteem, not motivation, not class size, etc. The number one factor governing learning is classroom management. Not even the video projector, not even the whiteboard or blackboard. That's why learning has taken place under the mango tree, under the santol tree, like in the olden days. Now, some of you may be thinking, Mr. Rentoy, if only you know my students, they have no discipline. If only you meet my students in this section, Joey, John, hard-headed, they never listen, they don't pay attention. That is classroom management, precisely. How to get John, Joey, Joanna, Geraldine to listen, to pay attention, to sit up straight without you ever having to keep on calling their attention. Okay? So then there's a message here asking for the recording of this. Yes, as all of you who have been attending since Monday, you received the recording, no? The link to the recording of our session. So yes, ma'am, the teacher who messaged me here in the chat box. Okay, so um, sure, learning will be easier if you have a smaller class size, right? But I've also seen a teacher grappling with classroom management, even if there are only 10 students. Even if there are only 10 students, but if he or she does not know how to get the students to sit up straight, pay attention, and stop talking without ever having to keep on repeating those, then learning will still not happen. So it's not class size. It's not even motivation. It's not even self-esteem. As I'm going to go through some of the strategies, you will see. Um, the more important thing is how we get the students to do what we want them to do. Okay, now, some of you might also have the wrong idea that, sir, all we have to do is to discipline the students because, that's the thing that is uh, the biggest problem we have among the young people today. They don't have discipline anymore. Okay, some of us think that this generation of young people today have totally changed. They don't know how to follow rules. They are self-entitled. They are etc. etc. But when they are inside our classroom, when they are in our class, in our subject, it is our duty to manage them, not to discipline them. There is a big difference. I'm going to differentiate now. Disciplining and classroom management are two different things. If you were participant of some of my past seminars, I think it was in April or March when I offered the series on stop disciplining and start managing. Harry Wong is the one who said that you don't need to discipline if you know how to manage. You don't need to discipline if you know how to manage. So, stop disciplining and start managing. Here's the difference. Um, Stewardesses in airlines, for example, they don't discipline, they manage the plane. And how do they manage the plane? Here's how they do it. In any airline you ride, in any airplane that you board, they do the same thing. They remind the passengers the procedures. For example, any airline that you enter, they announce before taking off, they announce clearly the different procedures. Open the window shade, straighten up your chair, close the table in front of you, all bags either under the chair or in the overhead bin. And then, of course, most importantly, fasten the seatbelt. Any airline you enter, the same expectations, the same procedures. That's management. In classrooms, you start having problems when students start saying, "Sir, ma'am, how come we cannot transfer seat? In the class of Mr. Batumbakal, we can. How come we cannot eat while the lecture is going on? How come in the class of Mrs. Baluyot we can eat?" That is when you start having problems. So, teachers, one of the most important things that you might want to do before the start of the school year is, as a faculty, as teachers in the same unit, the same intermediate school, the same high school, make all your procedures uniform so that whatever classroom the students enter, they know exactly what is expected of them, what the procedures are. Any classroom they enter, they cannot anymore tell you, "How come we can transfer seat like in the class? Or how come in the class of," they will not start making comparisons. So that's one of the, I don't know, workshops you need to schedule before you start the new school year. Let's all sit down and make all our procedures uniform. So that's classroom management. Now, after reminding the passengers the procedures, remember, they're not rules. Huh? The closing the window, opening the window shade, straightening up the chair, closing the table in front of you. Those are not rules. They are merely procedures, what you want the passengers to do. Now, after reviewing the procedures, what do the stewardesses do? They go around. They go around making sure that passengers follow the procedures. And if they see someone not following one procedure or another, what do? They only do two things. They call you ma'am, sir, and then they tell you exactly what they want you to do. Sir, please open the window shade. Thank you. Sir, the seat belt, please. They will even assist you. Thank you. Ma'am, the chair, please. And then they will straighten up. Those are the only two things they will say or they will do. They call you ma'am or sir, and then they tell you exactly what they want you to do. That's procedure, that's management. Now, let me compare. If stewardesses discipline and they don't manage, this is what they will do. They will go around checking on people if they follow the procedures. And then if they don't, like a classroom teacher, they will tell a passenger, "Sir, didn't you hear the announcement? You're supposed to fasten your seatbelt. How many times do I have to tell you? Don't you understand that?" That's disciplining. And that's why we're saying now, stop disciplining and start managing. That's the difference between discipline and managing. Discipline, you give rules. You should do this. You should do that. You cannot do this. You shall not do that. That's disciplining, giving rules. But classroom management, it's about this is the procedure. This is how I expect you to behave. This is what I expect you to do. So, stop disciplining, start managing. How do we manage? Simply by giving them procedures to follow. Procedures that they will keep on doing and doing repeatedly over and over again until they become routine. And that's why in the first days of school, Harry Wong's book, that is what teachers should be doing, teaching procedures. But wait, don't just teach the procedures, rehearse them. Make the students do the procedure, rehearse them over and over and over again until they become routine. Here's what research says about procedures. Number one, the only way you can have responsible students is if you have procedures and routines which the students can be responsible to. Teachers, please take note. The students are expected to be responsible to the procedures and routines, not to you, not to you. So don't ever resort to words like, John, how many times do I have to tell you? Are you challenging my authority? No, no, no. John is not challenging your authority. He is just not following the procedure. He is not being responsible to the procedure. So, if you want responsible students, make the procedures very clear. When students know how the class is run, they will more willingly do whatever you want them to do. So, those are two different things, procedures and routines. Let's define them. Procedures are those that what you want students to do. Like what? How to raise your hand if you want to ask a question, how to ask permission if you need to go to the bathroom, how to get the attention of the teacher if you want to answer. What is your procedure if the student comes in late because traffic is bad, because there's fire in the other corner, and um, there's just no way of being able to come in on time? But what is your procedure if the student comes in late? If the student, for example, was absent in the previous class because he got sick and then comes back to school, what does he do? What is your procedure? If you don't have procedures for those things, the students will not know what to do, will be at a loss. And then that's when the trouble comes because they might misbehave, not doing the right thing. But it's not that the guy is misbehaving, the student is misbehaving. He just doesn't know what is the procedure. Procedure is what you want students to do. Routines is what students do automatically. That's why Harry Wong said, you have to rehearse it. For example, what is your procedure if you want students to recite? Did you teach them that first they have to raise their hand and then wait to be called? And then once they are called, they stand by their desk and then they recite. Is that your procedure? Or they can raise their hand and once acknowledged from their chair, from the while seated, they give the answer. Is that your procedure? If the students don't know, then you have trouble. um, Perfect setup for trouble. And you have students who will shout the answer without waiting to be acknowledged. And some are raising their hand. Some are shouting, sir, 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 me. Because you didn't rehearse them, the procedure is not automatic. The number one problem in the classroom is not discipline. It's the lack of procedures and routines. You see, it's not a problem. When John and Joey talk to each other, it's not that they are being undisciplined. You didn't make it clear to them, perhaps, that if they want to share an answer with a neighbor, they have to share it with the rest of the class. There is no procedure for that. So here are some procedures that you should have, that you should teach, and that you should rehearse. Remember, procedures are not rules. They are simply what you want students to do. And then you rehearse them over and over until they become routine. For example, passing in papers. Many teachers, according to Harry Wong, do the worst thing of collecting papers when they say, okay, class, time's up, put your pens down, pass the papers forward. Many teachers do that because that's how we were also trained when we were students. And Harry Wong said, if especially if your classroom is arranged according to traditional classroom, where you have rows and columns, right? When you say pass the papers forward, the students at the back will start passing their papers, but the student in front does not see because he is still answering. And there are students who are like that. They will not pass the papers forward until you get angry and you say, papers not in, I will not collect anymore. Because when you say, okay, class, stop writing, time's up, you think students will put their pens down and actually stop writing? No, they're not angels. They will continue writing until you get exasperated. And the students at the back who are trying to pass the papers, and the person in front is not looking. And so what does the person at the back do? He will have to hit the guy in front of him with his test paper that he's trying to pass. And then the person in front will get upset and will say, I'm not done yet. I'm not finished. Or why did you hit me? And you have a whole class erupting into chaos, into noise, simply because you said, pass the papers forward. Harry Wong said that is the worst way to collect papers. Don't do that, he said. Here's one strategy of passing in papers. If you have the traditional type of classrooms where the students are arranged in rows, and you have to teach them, okay, class, um, if I need you to pass your papers, if I need you to pass your diary or pass your reply slips or whatever it is, here is our procedure when I want you to pass something. I'm going to say, okay, class, all the papers to the aisles at the count of 5 there. You see, because you value time, you cannot spend more than 5 seconds in collecting papers. And so you will teach them and rehearse with them passing in papers at the count of 5. And here's the procedure, class. I will say, okay, papers in, pass the papers to the aisle, going towards the aisle. Those on the right will pass to their left because the aisle is on the left. Those on the left side will pass their papers towards the right because the aisle is on the right side. And I will say 5. It means those at the very end rows should already be giving their papers to the person to their left. Not in front, but to the person to their left, or from the other side, person to their right. You see, the student does not have to hit the person with his test paper because the he is within the peripheral vision of that other person. 4, meaning to say the second row, the students in the second row should already be giving the papers, their papers with the paper of the other classmate to the next to them going towards the aisle. 3 and 2, and by the time I reach 1, all the papers are on the with the students seated along the aisles. And I will just have to go down the aisle collecting from them. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You see, um, that's the procedure. Can we try it? Let's rehearse. You will have to rehearse. Bring out a 1/4 sheet of paper, and then you even make it clear to them the procedure in heading papers. Your name, the date, the subject. That's it. Do you want them to put their complete name, full name? Do you want them to put their nickname? What is your procedure? Um, 2 weeks after the school has opened, students should not be asking anymore, Sir, do we need to write the date? Sir, do we need to put the subject? The procedure should be very clear from day one. You're in the first days of school, those are the things that we teach them and we rehearse with them. And then we will follow that in all the subjects, whatever subject, whatever paper you submit, complete name, date, and the subject. In my case, by the way, I prefer that the students write their nickname and family name, not the complete name, not the full name. Because when I return the papers, that's what I announced. Joanna Batumbakal, Jerry. I don't want to be reading Epitasio. No, I prefer to be able to call them by their nickname when I'm returning the test papers. And so that's how I make the students head the papers. Okay? Now, as you rehearse, for example, the passing in of papers, submitting papers, you're going to do the count, right? 5, 4, 3. You notice John is not passing his paper properly. Don't get mad. Don't get angry. John is not trying to challenge your authority. He is just not following the procedure. So, what do? You say, John, what's the procedure, please? And then he will do it. Thank you. Day 10, you ask again the students to pass the papers along the aisles. And John, again, does not follow. Don't get angry. Don't get mad. Don't shout, scream, or yell. Simply say, John, what's the procedure, please? He will do it. Day 50, John again fails to follow. Just say, John, what's the procedure, please? Day 210, the last day of the school year, you're collecting the final exam papers, and John does not follow the procedure. Don't get angry. Don't shout. Don't scream. Don't yell. John, what's the procedure, please? And you will see your blood pressure does not have to shoot up. You don't have to get angry, upset, and tired. It's all about procedures and routines. And I tell you, if you rehearse them over and over at the start of the school year, they will know how to do this. Entering the classroom, when asking a question, what is your procedure? Getting to work immediately. When the teacher is tardy, many schools do not have a procedure if the bell rings and there's no teacher inside the classroom. Many schools don't have procedures with that. And so what happens? That's when trouble starts. The room becomes like a zoo with students jumping up and down like monkeys. Why? Because there's no procedure. Here's a procedure I would follow, and I would teach the students this. Okay, class, if the bell rings and there's no teacher inside the classroom, here's the procedure. Here's the procedure. President, vice president, you stand in front of the classroom. Okay? Secretary, you will go to the faculty room and to ask if there's a teacher, if there's a substitute teacher, if mom so and so or miss so and so or sir is here, because there's no teacher in the classroom. That's a procedure. President and vice president, you stand in front of the class to supervise and make sure that there is order and discipline and that students do not make noise because they will be disturbing the other classes if they make noise, if they misbehave. Okay, that's the procedure, and wait until a teacher takes over. Let's rehearse it. I'm going to give the signal, etc. So that's how it is until it becomes a routine. As soon as the bell rings next time around and there's no teacher, immediately president and vice president know what they should do. The secretary knows that he's supposed to. Let's look at some other procedures and routines you should have. You can have as many procedures as you want for as long as you rehearse them, for as long as they become routine. Some procedures you don't teach on day one. You will teach, for example, the procedure of graduation, of receiving the diploma with your left hand and shaking the hand of the principal with the right hand. You rehearse that near the graduation. And you rehearse the students over and over until it becomes a routine. They know what to do during graduation day. Get the diploma with the left hand, shake the hand with the right, go to the center and take a bow, and then down the stage. No twerking and dancing on the side. No, no, none of those things that will ruin the solemnity of the very serious occasion. I'll just give you one more sample, the coming to attention from Harry Wong. If teachers do not have procedures on how to get the attention of the students, then that's when you have teachers resorting to shouting, screaming, and yelling. Here's an example of a procedure you should teach students and rehearse with them over and over until it becomes routine. Okay, class, here's a procedure I need you to remember. If I need you to keep quiet because I need to make an announcement, I'm going to stand in the middle of the room and calmly raise my hand. Salami. That's the procedure of Harry Wong. Salami. Stop and look at me. If you see me standing in the middle of the room and I raise my hand like that, stop whatever you're doing and whatever you're saying. If you see a classmate near you facing the other way, tap him at the back and point to the teacher. Salami. Tap and look at the teacher. And um, even if you're in the middle of your sentence, stop whatever you're saying and look at the teacher because he or she needs to make an announcement. Okay, class, let's rehearse it. Get a partner, and I will give you time to talk about what I did over the summer break. Okay? Go and get a partner and start exchanging what I did over the summer break. And you give them a bit of time, a few seconds. After a few seconds, when the noise level is very high, you go to the middle of the room, you calmly raise your hand and wait for them to keep quiet. It may take time, 5, 6, 7 seconds, 8 seconds, but as you rehearse it and it becomes routine, there comes a time when you stand in the middle of the room and calmly raise your hand, and in a matter of 3 seconds, 4 seconds, you didn't even say anything. You just calmly raise your hand, and students keep quiet and look at you, ready to pay attention, ready to listen to whatever you need to say. I've seen it. I've seen it. For example, um, there was a few summers ago, I was invited with the Catalyst students of UANP. We were invited to St. Paul Pasig to give a lecture on journalism to more than 1,000 students coming from the 52 different campuses of St. Paul. St. Paul Pasig, St. Paul QC, St. Paul Manila, St. Paul Tuguegarao, from all over the country. They were supposed to be there for a few days for journalism and leadership seminar, and we were there. And then it was the day one of the seminar, and the hall, the auditorium, with more than 1,000 students. And then suddenly, the principal sister comes inside the auditorium, goes to the stage, and calmly raises her hand like that. And in a matter of few seconds, the auditorium that was very loud, very noisy, very boisterous, all quiet because they know the procedure. It has become a routine. Salami. Here's another strategy to come to attention, to get the students to come to attention. I many times you like me would make the students do paired discussion. Get a partner, stay wherever you want in the classroom to discuss the answer to a question. Salami may not work there because some are seated there on the floor at the back. Others are behind the chairs. They don't see you. And so salami may not work very easily. There's the bell method. Bell method. You have one of those bells where you tap like that and it sounds ting, or a real bell, cling, and you explain to the class, okay, class, here's the procedure. If I need you to stop talking and listen to me because I need to make an announcement, I'm going to ring the bell. And then I'm going to count three, two, and one. By the time I reach one, I expect you to stop whatever you're saying, stop whatever you're doing, and look at me. You don't need to stand up. You can stay wherever you are, but look at me. When I reach one, I expect everybody to be paying attention because I need to make an announcement. Okay, let's rehearse it. You make them do it. You make them go and sit wherever they want. And then you ring the bell. Three, two, and one. John continues talking. Don't get angry. Don't get mad. John is not um, testing your or challenging your authority. He is just not following the procedure. And so all you have to do is say, John, what's the procedure, please? Stop talking. Thank you. So you rehearse that over and over until it becomes a routine. There comes a point when you ring the bell and you don't even need to count. You do not even need to count. They will keep quiet in a matter of 2, 3 seconds, ready to listen, to pay attention, because you rang the bell, the procedure, it becomes routine. So you can have as many procedures for as long as you rehearse them. Procedure to fall in line outside the classroom because we're going to go to the chapel. What's the procedure before I dismiss you for lunch? What's the procedure when we are going to begin the day? When we are going to end the day and dismiss? What's the procedure if we are all going to the auditorium to attend an assembly? Procedures. And then you rehearse them over and over until they become routine. That's what we are supposed to be doing in the first days of school. And it's not a waste of time, even if you spend 2, 3 full days of the first days of the school year just learning and rehearsing the procedures. It's not a waste of time. Because in fact, what will happen is once those become routine, they what you expect them to do, they just do it automatically. The rest of the school year is going to be a breeze. It's going to be like clockwork. The students know exactly how to behave, how to carry themselves, what you want them to do at every given moment. It works. I mean, it always works that way. The procedures, that's what will make you um, get the students to achieve. Okay, this is supposed to be once and for all, you can solve that discipline problem, right? Better classroom management. That's what we are supposed to be discussing. Believe it or not, the kids want discipline even more than you and I do. They want discipline because no student would want to be in a classroom where they are in danger of being harassed, being teased, made fun of. That's why they want discipline also. But if we have all those procedures where you make them do what you want them to do routinarily, automatically, then you will not even need to do disciplining. But it's good to have a discipline plan. Now, first, let me share with you 5 myths of discipline. Myths because they are not true. Here's myth number 1. Do not smile until Christmas. Do not smile until Christmas. That's a myth. But you know, some teachers believe that. I overheard a senior teacher advising a new teacher, don't smile, don't smile. You have to terrorize the students. The students should be afraid of you. That's not true. Do not terrorize the students. I give my students my biggest, widest, fakest smile on day one to welcome them to the school. So that's not true. That's a myth. Myth number 2. Mr. Rentoy, I will not have problems with discipline if only I am big and tough. That the students will be afraid of me, will not even dare to break my rules because I am big and tough. That again is not true. I mean, I've had teachers who were big, who looked tough, but they were very fatherly, very motherly. They were caring. They were very nice. And I was not terrorized by them. I was not afraid of them. So that's not true. We have to be big. We have to be tough. We have to be scary. That's a myth. Here's myth number 3. Mr. Rentoy, I will not have problems with discipline if only my school has the latest gadgets. Now, don't get me wrong. If your school can afford whiteboards, uh, LED screen, and high definition television in every classroom, and high speed internet, fantastic, fantastic. But that is not what will make discipline problems go away. As I mentioned to you yesterday, I was helping out in a school with all the facilities you can ever dream of, but they have bullying in the school. They have problems with defiant students. Latest gadgets are nice, but they are not what will solve the discipline problem. Here's myth number 4 regarding discipline. Mr. Rentoy, I will not have problems with discipline if only my students come from the middle class. Because the problems are usually from those coming from very, very rich families, entitled, and uh, or the students coming from very, very poor families with no motivation, no self-esteem. That's not true. That is not true. It's a myth. Regardless of what background the students come from, very rich or very poor or middle class, if we know how to manage the class, there will be no discipline problem. And here's number 5. I somehow mentioned this, I think, in one of the first 2 talks. Mr. Antoy, I will not have problems with discipline because I will be friends with my students. I will be speaking their same language. We will understand each other. We will be chummy chummy. We will be eating in McDo weekends, and we will even drink. For high schoolers, we will even drink beer together. Please, we have to remind, especially young teachers, young beginning teachers are prone to fall into this error, this mistake. We need to remind the teachers, ma'am, sir, you are not meant to be friends with your students. They don't need more friends. Look at their Facebook. They have so many friends. They need a role model. And that's what we teachers have to be. Be friendly. Be very, very friendly. But you and I are not meant to be friends with our students. We're meant to be role models, heroes, teachers. That's a different thing. A friendly teacher, a teacher who cares a lot about their students. I've seen this tragically end for some teachers trying hard to be popular, trying too hard to be liked. And then the students get confused because one day, si ma'am starts um, getting angry at the class, reprimanding them for misbehavior. And the students get confused. I thought you're our friend because you confused them. You tried to be popular and to be liked and to be a friend. We are not meant to be friends with our students. We're meant to be role models that they will look up to, heroes that they need. Let me describe to you four different types of classrooms. Here are four different types of classrooms. Here's the first one: low control, low support classroom. Low control because the teacher is afraid to control the class. You've seen teachers like that. When they see some students sleeping, for example, they think, oh no, if I call the attention of this guy, he might get angry at me. He might even throw a tantrum. So, bahala ka dyan. You sleep when you want to sleep. I will just lecture and finish the class. Low control. The teacher doesn't know how to control, is afraid to control. And then low support because the students do not like that kind of teacher. They don't support that kind of teacher. And this is the kind of class where the students are saying, I cannot even understand the lesson because the teacher cannot even control my classmates. My classmates are very noisy. And the teacher doesn't know how to do it, how to control it. And you create a board classroom. And the students, in fact, the students are actually saying something like, um, how I wish I'm in the other class of Mrs. So and so. She's very strict, but at least I think I can learn. I learn better. Because this class, I cannot even hear her. My classmates are noisy. I cannot even hear what the teacher is saying. I don't like this teacher. Why do we have to study this subject? Why do we have to have this as our teacher? They are bored. Here's another kind of classroom: low control, high support. Low control now, the teacher does not control the students. You want to eat? Go ahead. Just make sure there's no teacher passing by or the principal will not see you. You want to transfer chairs? Go ahead. You want to sleep? Go ahead. Just do it there at the back. So the teachers around passing by will not see you. You want to eat? Go ahead. Low control. High support because the teacher precisely is trying very hard to be like. And I've seen teachers like that. They look like they're running for a popularity contest. desperately trying to win the favor of the students. High support. They like the teacher. Oh, this teacher is cool, is chill. We can eat. We can even text. We can even bring out our cell phones. Low control, high support. But not all students are the same. Some of them are mature enough to see through the teacher and say, this teacher is just trying to be liked, trying to be popular. Here's another kind of classroom: high control, low support. High control now. Keep quiet. Stop talking. Eyes here on the board. What are you laughing at? Get out. Inhale. Exhale. Like as if you're controlling even the breathing. High control. Terror teachers. Terrorizing the students. Forcing them to do what the teacher wants them to do. Low support. They don't like that kind of teacher. They are afraid. It's so sad. I've seen it happen where a student develops a psychiatric disorder because of a terror teacher. There was a case like that before of a student. As soon as he wakes up in the morning and realizes that he has a class that day with this teacher that he is so afraid of, he doesn't want to come to school anymore. Or worse, he starts developing fever, psychosomatic, and the students are terrorized, are afraid. And you are going to create a revengeful class. The students are going to find a way of getting back at the teacher. That's why sometimes in, I don't know, school-wide assemblies, when the name of this terror teacher is mentioned by the principal or the person speaking on stage, the students have a kind of laughter that is different, a kind of laughter that sounds like they want um, to make fun of that teacher. They want to get back at that teacher. Revengeful. What we want to produce is a high control, high support classroom. High control. Like what strategies we talked about yesterday, you remember? Where you want the students to study and study hard, they will study. They will want to get 100% in the exams. They will make their parents attend the PTA meeting, the parents forum. You want them to participate in declamation contests, sabayang bigkasan, intrams. They will participate because of the Class Excellence Award, the Class Excellence system that we talked about yesterday. They will want to win. They will compete. They will want to um, be the best. High control and high support. They believe in the teacher. They say this teacher knows what he is doing, what she is doing. He or she knows exactly how to get the class to be successful. Those are the four different types of classrooms. What kind of classroom are you going to create this coming school year? We have to create successful classrooms. Okay, now I said earlier, stop disciplining and start managing. But it's good to have a discipline plan because that is how we do things. We have a plan. Now, I go around the country giving seminars and visiting schools. And many times I ask them, do you have a discipline plan? Oh, yes, sir. We have rules. Okay. And if the students don't follow the rules, then there is consequence. Okay. And then I ask them, but what if they follow your rules? Well, nothing. So the teachers will not have to get mad, not have to get angry. The teachers will not have to shout. Well, okay, Harry Wong says, no, there should be three parts to your discipline plan. The rules, yes, negative consequences, but if they follow your rules, then there should be positive consequences. And in fact, the principle of Harry Wong is there should be more rewards than penalties. You stand a better chance of getting the students to do what you want them to do if they're working to get a reward than to avoid a penalty. So he gives us oh, by the way, about the rules. The rule of Harry Wong about rules. You shouldn't have so many rules that the students cannot even memorize them. I mean, how can you expect them to follow what they don't even memorize? So, according to Harry Wong, the rules should be just enough for them to be able to memorize. Now, in whatever school I taught in, grade school, high school, college, I would always only have three rules. Three rules. Class, there are only three rules. I have number one, come prepared for class. Number two, no unnecessary noise. Number three, no unnecessary movements. And then I explain clearly what it means by come prepared for class. If I ask you to bring out 1/4 sheet of paper, you should have your own 1/4 sheet of paper. You should not be asking from your classmate because that means you've come unprepared for class. If I ask you to give a presentation, you should be able to give a good presentation. That means you've come prepared for class. No unnecessary noise, no unnecessary movements. Those things I explain clearly what they are. Now, here are some samples of rewards. Some of them applicable to preschool, others all the way to high school. Rewards that you can have, which students will want to be able to get. Okay, as I said, some of them may be applicable to preschool all the way to high school, some others applicable only to kids, some even all the way to college. For example, I'm proud of you statement. When I was teaching in University of Asia in the Pacific, I would make my students do a lot of presentations. For my Latin class, classical studies, for my English class, I would make them do presentations. At the end of every presentation, I would make a comment, and many times I would say something like this: class, this group's presentation was spectacular. How I wish we can present this in other schools. That's one way of doing the I am proud of you statement because they came prepared for class. And we should be doing a lot of that even all the way to high school. We shouldn't be afraid, for example, to say, I'm proud of you. Good job. Group two, that was a spectacular presentation. That was a great report. Very good. We shouldn't be afraid of being able to say things like that. Here are some more rewards, samples of rewards, some of them applicable to preschool, some others all the way to college. Let me point out one concrete thing here. Visit to principal for special acknowledgement. Some teachers think that sending a student to the principal's office is one of the highest punishments, right? If a teacher doesn't know anymore what to do with a student and gets so angry and gets so upset, get out, go to the principal's office now. You've heard teachers do that, say that. And then the student goes to the principal's office and the principal asks, oh, why are you here? And the student says, I don't know, mom. My teacher told me to come. And then you think that is the worst punishment you can give it. No. Uh, in fact, what I prefer to do is to bring students to the principal's office to tell the principal, Mom, so and so, sir, this student is one of the most improved students in my class. He was doing very poorly last quarter, and now he is third honor standing. He deserves a special acknowledgement from you, Ma'am Principal. That is a reward, and that is how we should be um, taking advantage of the kindness of the principal. Okay, here are some samples of negative consequences. Some applicable to preschool, others applicable even all the way to high school. Detention, suspension, I mean, those things are in fact usually already in our faculty manual or student's handbook. Here are more samples of negative consequences. Applicable to preschool, like recording tantrums and then playing it back for the parent. And some more. As I said, some of these can be found already in our school manual. Okay, principle of Harry Wong, there should be more rewards than penalties. Well, last 7 minutes or so for our session today, let me give you some more concrete strategies. According to Harry Wong, classroom management seminars should be done in ballet studios where you have mirrors all over the place. Why? Because one of the most powerful strategies we teachers should master in managing a class is what we call the stare. Have you noticed master teachers, expert teachers, they just enter the classroom and they don't say a word. They don't shout, they don't scream, they don't yell. They just enter the classroom and look at the students, and the students keep quiet. The stare. According to Harry Wong, this is one of the most important strategies we should learn and we should master, the stare, where you just look at the students with that kind of stare, that kind of look that says, oh, come on, class, I expect best behavior. No more talking. I'm here and I deserve respect. But you don't say it. Everything just is communicated to do that there. That's why Harry Wong says, look at yourself in the mirror and try to capture that perfect stare that says, come on, I expect best behavior. No more talking. Go back to your chair. I am. I deserve all the respect. Now, some stares may look like what is communicated is you are all evil people. You are so bad. You should be burning in hell. I mean, there's that kind of stare that is terrorizing, that is terrifying, that does not communicate, I expect best behavior. Look for that and then practice it, master it, because it is a very powerful tool. Here's another system from Harry Wong, check system, and I was so happy to learn it was done by Harry Wong. Hal Urban did it. Ron Clark, one of the best teachers alive today. I hope I could speak more about Ron Clark someday. The check system. Here's how it goes. Um, because according to Harry Wong, you should not waste a single second disciplining. You should not stop teaching in order to discipline. And this is one of those systems by which you can discipline, you can manage the class without ever having to stop teaching. For example, I'm lecturing about subject verb agreement. Here's how the check system works. And I explain it in the beginning of the school year, and I would do it. Okay, class, subject verb agreement. If the subject is singular, the verb should be singular. If the subject is plural, the verb should be plural. And then I notice John. choosing to break one of my rules. Remember, no unnecessary noise, no unnecessary movement. He starts talking with Joey. They have chosen to break one of my rules. I don't stop teaching. I just calmly pick up the pen, the marker, if it is a whiteboard marker, or the chalk, if it is a blackboard. And I continue lecturing, but I write the name of John and Joey on the board. If the subject is singular, the verb is singular, while I write the names John and Joey on the board. John and Joey, I explained this in the beginning of the school year, know that if their name is written on the board, it's a warning. No punishment, no punishment, no consequence. It's just a warning that they have chosen to break one of my rules, and so I give them a warning. And then I continue lecturing. However, there are some subjects that are always singular. For example, somebody, someone, something, anyone, anybody. I noticed John and Joey talking again. They again chose to break one of my rules. I don't stop lecturing. I don't get angry. I don't call the attention of John and Joey. I just go to the board and put a check mark beside their names. They know that one check mark beside your name written on the board means that in the next recess or lunch or dismissal, whichever is coming up next, you will have to spend 5 minutes in detention. A second check mark means you will have to spend 15 minutes in the next recess, in the next lunch, or in the next dismissal, whichever is coming up next, as a consequence of your having chosen to break again one of my rules. A third check mark means you will have to come back on Saturday. A fourth check mark means I will have to call up your parents. You see, but I never stopped lecturing. All I had to do was put a check mark, write their names on the board as a warning, and then put a check mark. It works. It works. It follows the principle do not stop teaching in order to discipline. It's one of those systems where you can get John, Joey to do what you want them to do, and you don't even stop teaching. You don't even shout, scream, or yell. You don't even say things like, are you challenging my authority? How many times do I have to tell you? John, Joey, keep quiet, stop talking. What's wrong with you? Are you sick in the head? Is something wrong with you? All those things we have to do away with because they do not work. They are disciplining, they're not managing. I mean, they are a way of disciplining the class, not managing the class.